Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dining for Women's Google Hangout. Today we are celebrating the International Day of the Girl. The United Nations declared October 11th as the International Day of the Girl to raise awareness about gender inequality all over the world. This is the day that all activists come together in order to further the rights of young girls and young women everywhere. What a wonderful day to have this Google Hangout. We just heard this morning that the Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded to Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan and Kailash Satyarthi from India. Both of them are being honored for their struggle against the suppression of children's rights and young people's rights, and for the right for all these people to pursue an education. Today we have several guests with us at our Google Hangout. We have Laura Haight, our technical guru. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Veena.
Hi, hello. Laura will make sure that this Google Hangout has no technical hitches. We also have Maggie Doyne, who's the founder of Blink Now. She is joining us from Nepal. Hi, Maggie.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi, hello. We have Alyssa Roadcup, who's the executive director of Heshima, Kenya. She is joining us from Chicago, Illinois. Hi, Alyssa.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Then we have Robin Woodland, who is the Director of Development and Communications for the Nepal Youth Foundation, and he is joining us from Sausalito, California. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Google Hangout. I will let Maggie Doyne make her presentation on Blink Now. Maggie, go ahead.
Well, hey, everybody. First, I just want to say Happy International Day of the Girl. This is very exciting. We've all been really happy and excited over here. And I put a little bit of a presentation together on what we do in our work involving girls' education. So this is me. I am, I guess, primarily a mom to 50 kids now, and I'm located in Surkhet, Nepal, in the Midwestern foothill region of the Himalayas. My story actually started as a young woman. I'm from New Jersey, and I met a little girl. I thought this was a good story to tell because it's a girl. I saw her eating out of a garbage pile, and at the time I was traveling all through India and Nepal, and I was like very overwhelmed and kind of shocked and had a lot of emotions running through me. But when I saw Hema, and I just made this connection that was like, it could really start with one girl, and what if I could change the life of Hema? So I enrolled Hema into school. This is her just, I don't know, a few months later, and you can see everything about her has changed. Her bright eyes, her beautiful smile. We cut her hair and gave her a school uniform. But I didn't feel like that was enough, and I wanted to do more. So I went and I started a children's home for kids who were orphaned as a result of civil war and other reasons, and started going through the adoption process for kids. I have girls and boys. So I'm raising little girls, and I saw this challenge within the school system, which was that they were being hit physically. There's a big use of corporal punishment within the classroom, and I was really concerned about it, A, because the dropout rate for girls is really high, and also because I knew the impact of using fear in the classroom, and I was really concerned that with my own daughters that I would enroll them into school, and the thought of them being hit because they didn't know the answer to a math problem was really disturbing. So I then went and a couple of years later founded my own school where I started to enroll kids, many, many children, a lot of them who had various issues going on in their lives, and most of them who were the first in their family to be able to attend school. So what I started to see with my own students, my own girls, and girls everywhere in the developing world, is that everybody has a struggle and a problem. And that problem could range from being handicapped, like the little girl you see here, her name's Ganga, to having to work, having to earn an income, being a child laborer. Then I saw the issue of learning disabilities, girls who were enrolled into school too late and had missed their critical learning periods. I was really concerned about that. Then you have the risk of being sold into indentured servitude or sex trafficked, married too young, having a child too young, or just having an alcoholic father who is abusive and makes your life really difficult as a young child. So the question for me and for our organization became, how can we set our girls and our children up for success? And what I learned going into it is that it was a lot more than just putting them into a uniform and into a classroom. That was the first step, but it needed so much more to happen to really kind of remove those obstacles that were prohibiting their success. And this is what we started to learn. I started to see that it was a really complex puzzle that needed solving. For example, you give your kids a safe and happy place to come, but they have dirty drinking water, so then you need drinking water. Then, there's their physical health, so you start a clinic. The learning disabilities, the challenges academically, you need to enroll them into tutoring. They need transportation to and from school. A lot of them live in a remote region in a village. They need academic support. A lot of times you need to get the police involved or take legal action in some way with a challenge that they're facing at home. Maybe they just need a safe place to live if they're an orphan child. They need sports. Sometimes that's really good for girls. Vocational training, the social emotional aspect of just growing up and being a kid anywhere. They need love, they need a mentor, and they need an advocate. So all of a sudden our operational budget went way up because at Coppola Valley we needed all of these things, and we need to rely on our supporters to do that for us. And this puzzle became more put together. But there was one more challenge that we faced, and actually that we partnered with Dining for Women with. Oh, this is just a picture of Durga, because food is huge. A lot of times just food and nutrition will keep a kid in school, or a toilet. But these were the things that we were focusing on Coppola, and there was one more piece, and that was the women in the community. In Nepal, suicide is actually one of the leading killers of women, and that was really disturbing to me because I work with orphans, and I thought, oh my God, if women are killing themselves because there is so much desperation and such a lack of hope, then I need to get there. I need to really get to the start of it all so that they don't become orphans in the first place. So in partnering with Dining for Women, we started a women's center, and we brought 60 women together, mothers, grandmothers, older sisters of a lot of our students, grandmothers, aunties, and because I guess as much as we could do for them in school, a lot of their home lives were really struggling, and psychologically it was difficult. So we brought 60 women together, and we started to train them in anything from parenting to clean water to family planning and just empowerment, making them see their own power, feel their power, finance, economics, just the whole package. Just a fun, happy place for them to come every day and look forward to. And our big focus was on seamstressing, tailoring, and something fun that they could learn to make. So it was really successful for us. The women were, our youngest was 13. She was the girl who had been sold for $50. We had to buy her back so that she could come to our women's center. And our oldest was a 65-year-old grandmother and woman in the community. It was amazing. All 60 women graduated from the program in 1 year. This is them making menstrual pads, menstrual kits. We got the design from Day of the Girl and pretty much copied them. And just last week we opened up a women's center so that the mothers that we hired could earn an income and thus obviously be able to support our project sustainably, and also give them the ability to stand on their own 2 feet. So we started selling all kinds of products that they had learned to make, and signed a 3-year lease to a school, and to a building, I'm sorry. And then this is HEMA today. This is the beginning, and say, you know, talking about this holistic approach, a lot of times it's not as simple, and you kind of have to dig into the problem and dissect it. Now, Hima's mom is one of the women in our women's center, and I think that's really cool that, you know, now that last obstacle of having Hima with a mom who is breaking stones is also beginning to solve itself, and it's really, really exciting. So that's a little bit of our project and kind of what we've learned and what we wanted to share in talking about girls and beginning to solve these problems and these issues that they face.
Thank you, Maggie. Alyssa, why don't you tell us about Heshima, Kenya?
Okay, thank you so much, Vina. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my presentation here. Let's see. I'm sorry, in terms of the slide share, I'm having a little bit of an issue. Can you see my?
Not yet.
Alyssa,
Okay.
this is Laura. If you
Hi, Laura.
go over to the left-hand side of the screen,
Yeah.
the green button,
Green.
the
Right.
white
I'm
button.
sorry, I was doing the blue. Okay, my bad, my bad. Got it. All right. Thanks, everyone. And to echo what Maggie and Vina were both sharing, International Day of the Girl really is a tremendous time to be talking about this issue, and especially in lieu of the news about Malala Yousafzai. She's become such a luminary, voice of a generation, and we are at Ashima Kenya, we're celebrating along with her and the global women's community on the news about her Nobel Prize. So I thought to frame this conversation around empowerment of women and girls through education, I thought I would frame the refugee crisis that's happening currently in Kenya, and how refugees are uniquely vulnerable to different challenges, and why Heshima Kenya was founded. So currently, Kenya is home to one of the largest refugee populations in the world. Over 600,000 are living in Kenya, and of that number, 100,000 are residing in urban areas. Although most refugees in Kenya reside in camps, according to the UNHCR, 60,000 refugees are living in Nairobi, and they're termed as urban refugees. And to be a refugee, by definition, is to be vulnerable, but women and girls are especially vulnerable. And there are a number of reasons for that. Refugee girls cross borders, many times by themselves, fleeing conflict. They are susceptible to sex trafficking, forced marriage, prostitution, sexual and gender-based violence, and FGM, and those kinds of issues. So Ashima Kenya was founded to meet the needs of a very particular population of the refugee community, adolescent girls who are unaccompanied, separated, or orphaned. So we were founded to meet the needs of the world's most vulnerable refugees. Since we were founded in 2008, we've served over 500 young women, and you can see here many of them are coming from Somalia, Congo, Sudan, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Burundi. And by virtue of being refugee, many have faced tremendous barriers to their safety and security and to educational access. So 60% have reported experiencing sexual and gender-based violence, but we think that's actually quite higher, and because it's more difficult for girls from particular cultures to come forward and talk about those issues. Nearly 1 out of 4 of the girls in our programs have children as a product of the sexual and gender-based violence they have survived. 20% say that they've experienced forced marriage. And for this conversation, particularly the statistic to the right, 70% were illiterate and had little to no schooling prior to entering Heshima, Kenya. So we were founded with a holistic model that addresses the entire needs of a refugee girl. We have a safe shelter that keeps up to 40 young women and their babies. This kind of community that's created there enables them to find their voice again, regain their self-esteem, and begin to learn to trust other women and a safe community. We have a case management team that assesses the girl's educational level. So if she has had educational opportunity and she's able to be placed in public school, we do that for her, but the majority of our girls come illiterate. So we have our educational program. It's the Girls Empowerment Project, and the girls learn basic math skills, literacy, Swahili, English, and from that point, they are able to enter our tailoring program that feeds into the Maisha Collective, which is an artisan collaborative that enables the girls to become economically self-sufficient. So this gorgeous scarf that I'm wearing was handmade by the girls in our program, and we sell these on Etsy, and 100% of the sales are invested back into their education. So that model has been a very successful one for us. And also we have outreach and advocacy, sexual and gender-based outreach within Nairobi, and childcare, because critical to accessing educational opportunities, especially if you're a mother, is the ability to be at peace that your children are safe and doing well and cared for. So I wanted to quickly share one of our girls' story. This is the story of Fatuma. And in 2009, when she was 15, living in Mogadishu, during some war and conflict, a grenade assault took the lives of her mother, her father, and her brother. And we also have a partnership through American Jewish World Service, and they highlighted Fatuma's story in this gorgeous novella, and they titled it A True Story of Girl Power in Kenya. And Fatuma has since become a leader in our program. She's been with us for 3 years, and she shared with me that before her education at Ashima, she was limited, but now she's 10 times happier than she was, and she knows her family would be very proud if they were around today. And so we celebrate the stories of Fatuma and girls like Fatuma in our programs at Ashima, Kenya. So we focus on rebuilding communities through empowering girls one at a time. And our ultimate goal is to empower them to become leaders in their own right, so they can enter back into their communities and contribute to peace building and building out the infrastructure of their own communities wherever they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation. So, Robin from Nepal Youth Foundation, would you like to share your presentation with us today?
Yes. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for including me on this wonderful event. And we're delighted to be with Dining for Women, who has supported some of the work that I'm going to tell you about today. And I also want to thank Alyssa and Maggie. It's great to learn about the fantastic work that you're doing. And you're hearing me okay?
Yes, we are.
Great, okay. So I'm going to share with you this slideshow here. Okay, you have slide? Okay, so I'm going to be talking to you about Nepal Youth Foundation actually does a lot of different kinds of work all around Nepal, but today I'm going to be talking about one particular program, Empowering Freed Kamlaris. Kamlari is a particular system of child slavery in Nepal that we've been working to eliminate. And in the course of that work, we have discovered that, sure enough, just as Alyssa and Maggie were talking about, it takes a holistic approach to education and empowerment for girls and young women. This work was all started back in 1990 by Olga Murray, who, when she retired at age 65, started the Nepal Youth Foundation. And Olga will always be the first one to tell you that while she was the main cheerleader to make it all happen, really the credit goes to the people in Nepal who've been doing the work, and that includes Som Panaru, who's our president now. Som's been working with Olga for 20 years. And really that is part of the key to making all of these kinds of programs work, is to be working with local people in the community who actually know what's going on and let them lead the work. And that's part of why Nepal Youth Foundation has been successful, I think. Back in the year 2000, Olga and Som became aware of this system of indentured servitude called Kamlari, and they set out to eliminate it as a lofty goal, and they launched a program called the Indentured Daughters Program. And I'm not going to spend much time talking about Kamlari now, but if you've seen the movie Girl Rising, the chapter on Nepal features the story of Suma, who's one of the girls that we rescued from Kamlari and then supported her in her education. And you can, if you go to our website on the homepage, you'll see a link where you can get to where you can just see that one chapter of the Girl Rising movie. So you might want to check that out. But in the work that we've been doing since 2000, we've rescued over 12,000 girls from Kamlari and have supported them in their transition to becoming powerful leaders. And the Kamlari system of indentured servitude is really happening in western Nepal in primarily 3 districts. Down there I've got it circled. Nepalganj is the largest city there, and in that whole area is where all of this has been going on. And I had a chance to go visit there in February, and we went to the first village in the district of Dang, where the Indentured Daughters Program was launched in 2000, and we met these girls there when we were visiting, and these were the kinds of girls who just 15 years ago were being sold into Kamlari slavery. But we went to this village to meet the women who were the first ones who were rescued by NYF, and they were returned to their village where they still live and are raising their own families and running their own businesses. When Olga and Som first went to the village in 2000, they got a sort of a confused reaction from people. Why are you here? When we showed up in February, we were given this wonderful reception with dancing and music and the whole village turning out to greet us. That's part of how things have evolved since the last 15 years. Sita, who is one of the original girls rescued, now runs a pig farming business that she started with a loan from the co-op. Raj Kumari employs a couple of young women in that village, and they are running a tailoring seamstress business, producing all kinds of goods that they sell in the community. And how did we get from having a system of indentured servitude to where we are now? Well, it started with a collaboration with the families in that village. Som went to the village and said, wow, what's going on? Why are you needing to sell your daughters into indentured servitude? And the answer obviously is because of extreme poverty. The people in western Nepal are, the Taru people have been displaced from their land in the past century and have become sharecroppers and are very vulnerable and very, very poor. So they didn't see any choice but to sell their daughters into servitude. And the question was, well, how can we help you not need to do that? And the answer that came from the mothers in the community was, because at first we thought, well, we'll give you the money that you make from selling your daughter into servitude. And the mother said, oh, don't do that, because the husbands will spend it before we can use it. So they came up with the idea of piglets, and give us a piglet, we'll raise the piglet for a year, and when we sell it, we'll make the same amount of money that we would have made from selling our daughter. And that actually turned into a campaign that went for about 10 years, where we provided families with piglets provided by our donors, and that helped incentivize people to bring their daughters back to the community. But we recognized from the beginning that just bringing girls back to the community is only the first step, because now they need support to build lives that will be satisfying and successful for them, and they won't ever end up in a vulnerable situation like Kamlari again. So from the beginning, we provided them with scholarships and got them into classrooms. We had to create special programs because many of the girls were had missed all of their schooling, and now were being freed at age 15 or 16, and so we created special accelerated courses for them so that they wouldn't have to end up sitting in a second-grade classroom. And now the government pays for the Camilari's education. This is a hostel that we visited where these girls are all rescued from Camilari in recent last year or two, and they range in age from 10 to 18. So now we have a program called Empowering Freed Camilaris that provides all these different kinds of services, because over the year we realized that even education alone isn't enough. So we have a vocational education program that is training these young women in a whole variety of skills, and they're using that to find jobs and also to start their own businesses. Like Asvita here, who now runs a farm. She went to ag school and now runs a farm with her family. Leadership training and mentoring is an important part of the work that we do so that we can help these young women become advocates for themselves, and they formed an organization called the Freed Camilari Development Forum. There's 5 chapters all over Western Nepal with over 1,300 members doing a variety of work. This is a meeting of the leaders of the 5 chapters together, and when I got to see this meeting in February, I realized, yeah, leadership training and mentoring, really essential part of the work, so that you know, these girls can do the work that they're doing now. One of the things that we realized along the way is that all of these girls have suffered terrible loss and trauma in their childhoods. Many were abused emotionally and sexually, and so healing from that is part of their way forward. So we have a program called the Anchor Psychological Counseling Center. They're the experts in child psychology in Nepal, and they went out to Western Nepal and trained 50 of the FKDF girls to become peer counselors, and they're now running monthly groups. They're also doing work in the community to educate parents and families about the importance of not allowing their daughters to be married underage so that they can continue their education. The FKDF runs 37 business co-ops, and we supplied them with money to start a revolving loan fund that they administer, and they provide loans now to over 750 women to start their own businesses. Like Mina here started a beauty salon. Kamala may be the only female motorcycle mechanic in Nepal. She started her own shop with a co-op loan. Dil Kumari here in the front runs a sewing school, and these are her students at the school. And when you put all of that together, it really is creating a transformation out there in Western Nepal. So imagine in a community where there used to be as many as 18,000 young girls caught up in the Camilari system. They are now all returned to the community and are working together to support themselves in building a new future. And that was celebrated this January in the first ever Freed Camilari Day. That's Som Panaru receiving a certificate of appreciation from the Minister of Education in Nepal. And here is Olga on Freed Camilari Day marching in the streets of Nepalganj with the members of the Freed Camilari Development Forum. And I just love this picture because it just shows that with enough persistence and vision, transformation can happen. So that's what I want to share with you, and thank you so much.
Well, can all of you hear me? I just wanted to thank all of you for a wonderful presentation. Well, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to thank all of you for those very inspiring presentations. What seems really clear is that all of you are working in environments where poverty seems to be a very debilitating condition. But what inspires all of us is that the young girls and the young women, they seem to have the options. They know what their options are. They know what they would like to do. So I would like to, in this Q&A section, like you to address some of these things. So Robin, Alyssa, Maggie, are you with us? Can you hear us? Maggie?
I'm here. I can.
Okay, wonderful. I would like all three of you to address how working in these communities, how it has been for you to work with the larger community, maybe the law enforcement, the school systems, and if you've experienced any kind of pushback. So Maggie, would you like to begin?
Sure. Yeah, no, I haven't experienced any pushback. I mean, there are challenges, but at the end of the day, the beautiful thing about Nepali culture is that they value education and they want their kids to be educated. And those things are changing really fast. But in terms of community collaboration, yes, like it is absolutely essential that the community embraces it, and that goes anywhere from the farmers to we're a team of 73 Nepalese people, and their heart has to be into it. I meet regularly with my chief of police and often an attorney, and a lot of collaboration with other organizations doing similar work in the field. So it's key that you have that community buy-in, that community support, and that everybody's in it together with eyes and ears and watching out for red flags and addressing issues as they present themselves.
Alyssa, what has your experience been with Heshima, Kenya?
Thanks, Veena, for that question. I think that what we experience at Heshima, Kenya is quite challenging over the last number of years in terms of challenges that refugees face around xenophobia and other issues. So in December of 2012, the government of Kenya issued a directive, an encampment directive, stating that all refugees needed to be relocated to camps and that all direct service agencies needed to halt their services immediately. So through a number of months of collaboration with the different departmental levels, UNHCR, and the refugee service agencies in Nairobi, that directive was overturned. However, this past year in March, another directive was issued that was much stronger. And so the climate in Kenya right now around refugee issues is forced to wait for a week. It's very refugee sent to Tika Stadium and then forcibly relocated back to the camps. We actually had 2 girls in our program who were waiting at the bus stop to come to Shima's educational programs, and they greeted each other with a kiss. They were Somali, so they are wearing the head coverings, which makes them, stand out within the Kenyan community. And they were arrested and sent to Kakuma camp and then made their way to Uganda and are fine now. But the situation facing refugees is quite dire right now. And we work very closely with representatives of the government because we understand there are protection and security concerns, but we're also really pushing through our advocacy work to ensure that that terrorism and security issues aren't confused with the unique vulnerabilities and rights of refugees to seek asylum. So there have been a lot of challenges in that regard, but we have an incredible team of 40 working on the ground in Nairobi. Our programs are now more robust. We have higher attendance than we did last year this time in our GEP program. So it seems that we're hoping that things are going to really stabilize and that our girls are going to continue to feel safe and secure in pursuing their educational opportunities at Heshima, Kenya.
Good. Robin, what about Nepal Youth Foundation? I know you've had to work with the government and law enforcement in the past, but how does it continue to play out?
Yeah, well, it actually, this is a really important question because, and I think everyone here in the U.S. or in Western countries who is concerned about girls' empowerment around the world really needs to understand that if they're going to be working in other countries, they really need to be doing that in close collaboration with the community there and the government there. There's no way you can just come in from the outside and make things happen. So in the case of this work to end the Camlari system, it began with the close collaboration with the families in the community to figure out with them what it would take to change this, what had become really a cultural practice. And they were, you know, eager partners, and it was really a matter of collaborating with them to develop a vision of an alternative to Camlari. And that was very successful, but one of the challenges along the way was, you know, Camlari has always been illegal, as slavery is in most places in the world, and yet the problem is it hadn't been enforced. So there was the next challenge, was developing collaborations with the police and with the government. And that took time, but over time that became increasingly successful, and that led to rescuing all the thousands of girls and returning them to their community. Today, the FKDF, the Freed Camlari Development Forum, so the young women who have organized on their own behalf, they have developed relationships in their community in Western Nepal with the local police, with local government officials, because those three entities together, the FKDF, the government, and the police, work together to ensure that no other girls are sold into Camlari anymore, and they're still working to rescue some of the last few that they haven't found yet. But even then, some of the challenges have been that you know, while the government is committed to pay for the education for all of the freed Camlaris, and they are doing that, their payments are coming very slowly, and it's hard for the girls to manage their scholarship payments that way. And so part of their work has been to become political activists, and they have, over the last 3 or 4 years, made several trips to Kathmandu to organize large protests, street marches, as well as developing relationships with people in the Ministry of Education, and developing allies in the government who can work with them. So all of that partnership and collaboration aspect is really important.
Oh, thank you. With this next question, I want to bring it back a little bit to our young girls. I want to hear from all three of you about your experiences with young girls when they are faced with somewhat of a dilemma. Should I leave the country I was born in because of ethnic conflict and become a refugee somewhere else? Should I stay home and look after my sibling or go to school? Or, you know, should I do this because my parents say that I need to do this? So could you address some of those little stories that come from the girls themselves? Maggie, would you like to go?
Yeah, sure. There's so many stories. And yes, to be a girl in the developing world, a girl in Nepal, it's very incredibly difficult. And what I've seen the most is the challenge of family and the pressure at a certain age, especially coming into young adulthood and into the teenage years, where, you know, there's a struggle if they're the oldest in the family to support the younger ones. And really, I think just coming into the world and seeing all that there is that lies ahead of them, and it's challenging. I mean, there's so many examples every day when, you know, a girl is trafficked, or like Robin was talking about with the Kamwaris. These issues are really real, and psychologically, they need help every single step of the way.
Alyssa, Robin?
Yeah, well, so I'm not a program person. I haven't been working in Nepal, so I don't want to pretend to be an expert in that regard. But I do know what I saw when I spent a couple of weeks out there this February. And that is, I felt like I was watching a complete transformation in the community there, because imagine that you know, over 12,000 young girls and young women have been returned to their home community, are getting the kind of support that I was telling you about, building businesses, doing peer counseling, doing all this work in the community. It's totally changing everything there. And what I saw is that the people in the community and their families are very welcoming, And I think Maggie made a great point about that the culture and in Nepal is such that families really do love their children and they value education. They're happy to see their children advancing. At least that's what we've been seeing. And so it's really been a matter of helping people have a new vision of what's possible. And the young women themselves are really leading the way. And so I know that, of course, every individual girl has probably had a struggle in all of these regards, but together, and this is, I think, part of the important part, is that from the beginning the idea wasn't, well, we're going to bring these girls back from Kamlari and then each one for themselves. Really, the idea is to have them build their own network to support each other in this transformation work that they're doing, and I think that's part of why it's been successful.
Alyssa?
Can you repeat the question? I lost you for 1 second. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was trying to get some understanding of the young girls themselves. You know, how do they make that journey? For instance, in your case, how do they make the journey leaving the place they were born in, going to another country, being a refugee? That must be so hard.
Yes, it is. It's tremendously hard, and all of the young women in our programs are so resilient and so courageous and so beautiful and accomplished in their own rights. The majority of the girls who come to our programs really aren't faced with a choice. Their villages are being attacked and they're being forced to flee, or they've been promised to be married against their will, or they have protection concerns and their life has been threatened because of maybe a political affiliation with their family. But specifically, all the girls in our programs are unaccompanied, separated, or orphaned. So they all lack primary caregivers. And when they come to Shima, Kenya, they begin to receive the community that enables them to heal and recover and to establish their sense of footing in their own lives. It's incredible how watching a girl go through our educational programs and become literate and to begin to articulate her own voice, it re-establishes a sense of self-esteem and a vision of a hopeful future. And so I think critical to girls, the right to girls' education is a more fundamental, basic ability to have peace of mind and security of person, and to know that you're safe and well, and that you have a sense of a hopeful trajectory for where you're headed. So our programs really provide that for some of the most vulnerable of the world's refugees, who, as in my infographic expressed, have overcome tremendous adversity and challenges to be where they are now. So, does that provide a little bit of a context to your answer?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we at Dining for Women are delighted that we could play some role in all the work, that wonderful work that your organizations are doing. But I would like to ask all three of you to take a kind of a broader vision on the whole thing. And are you, with all the years you have spent on the ground in these areas, in these villages, in these countries, are you noticing cultural shifts? Are these communities changing and moving along, moving ahead? Maggie, would you like to take that one?
Yes, I love this question. I'm always Miss Positivity. And I've seen a major shift, major changes. Female girl enrollment into school is the highest it's ever been in the entire world. Accessibility is no longer an issue. The issue is becoming, let's raise the bar and improve it. I work alongside aunties. I'm not a mom solely by myself. And Balju, my right hand, she always is like, oh my gosh, when I was a kid, not a single girl went to school in our entire village. And now you go back to those same villages and girls are going to school. And it is a big step. And right now, like in Nepal, for example, the older generation of women in their 30s and 40s, they can't sign their name on a check or a bank statement. So think about the shift even 10 years from now when all of a sudden we have an educated, empowered generation of girls that can read and write and stand up for themselves, and a world where boys too respect them and know that they're to be heard and respected. I think it's awesome to think about, and I'm really excited for the future.
And that's wonderful. Alyssa, would you like to address that too?
Thanks. Well, while the challenges of being a refugee will remain as long as there is a refugee crisis in the region, the ability for the young women in our program to set their own goals for themselves and then have a way and a means to pursue their own dreams is one aspect of what makes Hishima Kenya's program so effective. 80 to 90% of the girls who are part of our Maisha collective have graduated out and have become self-sufficient. They have started their own businesses. They are learning how to save. They're creating better interpersonal boundaries in their relationships and negotiation with men, which is really critical. And we also see a higher resettlement rate for the girls in our program. So about 20% of the girls who are in the Shima Kenya's programs, because of our legal and medical advocacy work, are resettled. And the life of being a refugee is very difficult. You're living in this in-between space where you're unsure of your future, which is why the community Hashima Kenya provides is so important. But statistically, only 1 to 2% of the world's refugee population is ever resettled. So we see that through a girl's participation in our programs, her access to these opportunities that are going to set her on a life trajectory to success, education being critical, are being provided to these girls who have so many barriers around them. So in that way, I think we've seen a tremendous amount of success for the girls that we serve. And as Maggie was saying, if you change the trajectory of one girl's lives, that ripples into the future for generations ahead, and we really believe that strongly at Hashima Kenya.
Good, thank you. Robin?
Yeah, well, just to follow up on what Alyssa just said is, yes, investing in supporting any girl changes everything, and if you can do enough of it, you can change the entire culture. When Som and Olga were first visiting those villages in western Nepal in 2000, when they first learned about this Kamlari system that had been going for decades, but they were just learning about it themselves. And they were asking the families, well, why are you doing this? And they were doing it because they were desperately poor and needed the money, but part of why they were doing it is because that's just what they do. It had been happening for generations, and it was just their vision of the way life worked. And by working together, to build a new vision, to bring the girls home, to get them educated, to support them in becoming leaders, to provide for their economic development, their psychological support. Now, when you go to those same communities in western Nepal, there are thousands of these young women who are now leading a completely different life, and everyone in the community sees it. So where it used to be that, well, this is just what we do, now it's not what we do anymore. Everybody knows that, well, we stopped doing Kamlari and we're building something new. And imagine now if you're a young girl in western Nepal in these districts that we work in, now your vision of the future includes what you're seeing of these older teenage girls and young 20-something girls who are doing all this amazing work, building businesses, supporting each other, all that stuff. That's your vision of what's possible. Well, that changes everything, and that was so exciting to see. I was so inspired to see that. It actually was the first time that I'd ever actually witnessed for myself that kind of a deep transformation. I felt like I was watching a pivot point in history. So, yes, I think all of this work, but part of the key to it, Som and Olga, who've been doing this now for years, will tell you is that it takes a long time. These aren't the kinds of problems that you come in and do a 2-year project and you fix them. I mean, this campaign that we've been working on to support the Kamlaris has been going on for almost 15 years now, and we have years to go to support all those girls into their adulthood successfully. So, but transformation is definitely possible.
Okay. Well, we only have a few seconds left in this Google Hangout, so do any of you have any final words for anybody? Go for it.
Thank you. Thanks, Vita. I just wanted to say that Hashima Kenya is so grateful for the support of Dining for Women, because being a younger NGO, the opportunity to have hundreds of women's groups across the country and the world learning about our work and helping to support it has benefited our organization significantly. So we're so grateful to Dining for Women for your support.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Any last comments?
Well, I'd also like to say thank you to Dining for Women and everyone out there who's supporting the kind of work that you're hearing about today with these organizations and others. And if I were going to wrap it up in any way, I would just really want to encourage people to not lose hope and to get involved and to stay involved over the long haul and to look for programs that are really working collaboratively and closely in the communities that they serve. And if we keep doing that long enough, with enough of us around the world supporting these kinds of projects, total transformation is definitely possible.
Maggie, you have the last word.
Wow. Well, I just want to say, let's do this. Let's join hands together, and it's a day for celebration for how far we've come, and it's also a call to action for all of us to get our butts in gear and keep going. There's more to do, and let's do it together.
Wonderful. Well, I would like to thank all our guests for joining us today. For those of you who spoke to us and for those of you who are watching us, thank you for joining us. This is a call to action. This is a hopeful message for us, and we at Dining for Women are very grateful for all the partners that we have. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great year.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.